it is just like you can see the organ transplantations, but here the liquid organ is used as a source. And the conditions which are very fatal and if which are very fatal and if not treated, or the conditions where the BMT is can be very helpful includes the aplastic anemia, particularly the severe and very severe type of aplastic anemia, acute myeloid leukemia when there are some bad cytogenetics and poor or molecular markers, thalassemia major, as we discussed during the thalassemia or hemoglobinopathies, that is thalassemia major. Only curative treatment available is the bone marrow transplantations. So we will be discussing the bone marrow transplantation in following headings so that you can remember it easily. So what is BMT? What are the types of BMT? What are the requirements? What is the procedure? What is the CD34? Actually, CD34 is the precursor cells of the hematopoietic system, and these cells are actually transplanted from the donor to recipient. So that's the importance of CD34. And what are the indications? What are the common complications? And how to prevent these complications also. So, what is BMT? BMT is also known as the stem cell transplantation because here actually we are transplanting the stem cell from the donor to recipient. But the BMT term was used because the source of the stem cell was the bone marrow actually. So it is the bone marrow transplantation. Transplantation of the hematopoietic stem cells obtained from the bone marrow of donor to the recipient. Bone marrow is not the only source of stem cell. Remember this. These stem cells can be obtained from the peripheral blood, umbilical cord blood. UCB stands for umbilical cord blood. Hence, preferably should be called as a stem cell transplantation rather than BMT. But because BMT is modern term, so let me centers. They overlap the term BMT oblique stem cell transplantation as. And these terms are interchangeable. Whatever we are using as bone marrow transplantation or stem cell transplantation, both are correct. These are some highlights in the stem cell transplantations. In 1957, marrow was safely infused intravenously. 1958, reports of successful identical twin transplants. 1969, cytotoxin was added to the radiation. So I will tell you what is radiation, what is cytotoxin. Bone marrow harvest was perfected to obtain the stem cell in 1970. 1989, peripheral blood stem cells harvested as a source of stem cell. 1990, first successful cord blood transplant was done, and 1996, first non-ablative transplant was done. This is the person whom the credit goes to. He is A. Donald Thomas, who conducted the first successful bone marrow transplantation in 1958 in the identical twins. One of the twins was having a leukemia, and since then there is a much development has occurred in the bone marrow transplantation. And because of his work in this field, he got the Nobel Prize in the Physiology and Medicine in 1990. E. Donald Thomas. So what are the hepatic stem cells? These are the pluripotent cells which are able to develop or able to develop further into the different types of hematopoietic cells. Adult stem cells can be like hematopoietic stem cell, mesenchymal stem cells. But out of this, best is the hematopoietic stem cell, which has been characterized, which has been isolated, and about which studies are there in plenty. Mesenchymal stem cell is a new stem cells, which is of course not used for the bone marrow transplantation, but its main use is to prevent the graft versus host disease. But much development has not occurred in the mesenchymal cells, stem cells. So hematopoietic stem cell is a multipotent stem cells, and we know the hematopoietic lineage, that is RBC, WBC, and platelets. So this hematopoietic stem cell, once transplanted from the donor to recipient, will develop the three lineages, the RBC, WBC, and the platelets. And it is identified by these CD markers. CD markers we have discussed during the process, during the investigation of the acute leukemia, that is AML, ALL. And so this stem cell is characterized by CD34 and CD45. So these are the two specific markers for this hematopoietic stem cells. And this is again pictorial diagram showing the what are the various source of the, so you can say the, or this is the bone marrow, showing bone marrow is hematopoietic stem cells present in the bone marrow differentiate into WBC, RBC, and the platelets. Now, times of transplant is very important. We should know what is autologous, what is allogenic, what is syngeneic. Autologous means when the donor and the recipient is the same person. Classical example of autologous transplantation is in multiple myeloma. When we were discussing the disease about the multiple myeloma, then I told you diagnostic criteria, the treatment options. To treat multiple myeloma, if you remember, standard treatment is EFT followed by the autologous transplantation, which is mainly the consolidation part. But of course, we have to see whether the patient is eligible for the transplant or not. Like patient, you should have a good physical status. Patient age should not be more than 70 years. Patient should not have some serious comorbid conditions like the heart failure, chronic kidney disease, or chronic lung disease. And patient should be able to tolerate the transplant process actually. Allogenic transplantation means when the donor and the recipients are different. And these conditions, the conditions where this process is used, this include the aplastic anemia, acute leukemia, and the chronic leukemia. Chronic leukemia nowadays is a less common indication for the transplantations. As I told you during the class of myeloid leukemia, before the discovery of the method, the standard of care for the even the CML was, but after the discovery of the method, the CML had together changed, and now when cases are available in the market, so in those fields, so as of today, only indications for the bone marrow transplantation leukemia is a CML crisis with last. It may be genic when the identical twins are used. When the identical twins, when the bone marrow is or stem cell is transplanted from one identical twin to the another identical twin, syngeneic transplantation. So syngeneic is a allogenic transplantation. Remember this. Allogenic transplantation, autologous involves the one person only, that is the donor as well as the recipient is same person. So usually the person suffering from the one disease, after chemotherapy, the disease is cured, and to have the more depth of response, and the autologous transplantation is performed in such person. Lymphoma is not a common indication for the autologous transplantations. However, in multiple labs of the lymphoma, after achieving the remission by the second line or third line chemotherapy, then autologous transplantation is one of the measures to prevent the frequent relapse in such patients. Now, allogenic is further is also divided into the unrelated transplantation or related transplantation, and mass transplantation or mismatched transplantations. Related transplantation, when the donor and the recipient are siblings, then it is called as the related transplantation. That is, they are the real brother or sisters. And unrelated, when they are not the real brother or sisters, but they are the family members or may not be family members. That is, okay, like cousin, or may not, or you can say the donor may be altogether different from a different family. Matched or various degrees of match. Here, matching is meant by the HLA transplant. HLA match actually. HLA genes are there, so HLA match is required. But some degree of mismatch transplantation is also utilized in some special cases where the fully matched donor is not available. This is the principle of the autologous allogenic transplantations. Let us see, this is the donor, is the patient. After giving conditioning regime is usually either the chemotherapy or the radiation therapy, or we may combine both the procedure, that is chemoradiation, and the patient's marrow is ablated. So here this yellow is showing the patient's marrow, and after conditioning regime, the patient's marrow is totally ablated actually. And here is the donor, and this color, this you can say this color is showing the bone marrow in the donors. And after you can say this collecting the stem cells, these stem cells are infused into the patient who is actually a recipient. After the patient's marrow has been ablated by the conditioning regime, after that has been ablated by the conditioning regimes. And now look at this. So this patient's marrow is replaced by the donor marrow. Look at this color. This color is now here. That is this just to show the marrow actually how it looks like. And this process of marrow becoming active in the donor is in the recipient is called as the engraftment. It's called as the engraftment actually. So again, syngeneic, allogenic. Now, what are the requirements for the transplantation? There are there are some basic requirements for the transplantations we should know. First, there should be HLA mass donor should be available. Second, the facility should be available in the hospital. And third, financing should also be there because it is a costly affair actually. So HLA mass donor in case of allogenic transplantation. What is HLA? HLA is a human leukocyte antigens for which the genes are present on the chromosome 6. So there are two categories of the HLA genes, class 1 and class 2. Class 1 is represented by the antigen A, B, C, and class 2 is represented by the D, P, Q, R. So this is the class 2, this is the class 1 antigens, this is the common. Further also we can go, it is called as high resolution. This diagram is showing this is the short arm of the chromosome 6 where there is HLA regions and class 1 and class 2. So total match has to be there to achieve the successful transplant results actually. And these are the polymorphism. This diagram is showing the polymorphism. Polymorphism means the different alleles are there actually for the same, you can say, the one particular genes. So variations in number of these genes, that is called as polymorphisms. And look at this, there are so many genes so many genes within the categories are available actually. So HLA inheritance, this diagram is showing this is the autosomal inheritance actually. So this diagram is showing how the genes are inherited from parents to the siblings actually. So there is a 50%, you can say, the inheritance is there. Now the family members, now HLA typing in the BMT. So first we have to the HLA type for the donor as well as for the recipient. That's very important. Likelihood of we say it should be 10 by 10 or 6 by 6. That match has to be there. Likelihood of unrelated donor match related to haplotype frequency general populations. So on an average, chances of finding a matched donor in the family is around 1/3. That is around 35% chances are there. So one of the major reasons for the or major hurdle in the bone marrow transplantation is the non-availability of a matched donor, because only 1/3 chances are there to find a matched donor in the family members. Now, what are the consequences of the mismatch? If the mismatch occurs, what it can lead to? If mismatch occurs in the class 1 genes, it will increases the risk of graft rejection. And if the mismatch occur in the HLA class 2 genes, it will increase the risk of GVHD. So what is GVHD? What is graft rejection? Graft rejection means we have selected the HLA matched donor. We have taken the stem cells. After conditioning, we have infused the stem cells into the recipient body. But after some times, the graft starts losing its normal function. So that is called as graft rejection. It may occur just after engraftment, or it may occur just immediate after, you can say, the engraftment, before engraftment, at the time of engraftment, or just after engraftment, the rejection occurs. And once it is rejected, the recipient will have recipient will be symptomatic for its original disease. Mismatch of the class 2 antigen will lead to the graft versus host disease. Graft versus host disease because the marrow infused in the recipient is the outside marrow, that is not his own marrow. So our body will react, or the recipient body will react, as it will assume it is a foreign material. So body will react, it will develop some reaction against this, that is antibodies against this, or some specific manifestation in the different organ system against this. So this is called as the graft versus host disease. And the common organs which are involved in the graft versus host disease include the skin, liver, and the lung. These are the three common organs which are involved in the graft versus host disease. It may be acute, it may be chronic. So another reason for the success for the graft failure is either the graft rejections or the graft versus host disease. Now, what are the sources? As I told you, these are the three common sources of the stem cell. Bone marrow can be used, peripheral blood stem cell, peripheral blood can be used, and the umbilical cord blood. If we see out of these three as a sources of the hematopoietic stem cells, these sources available in plenty. This is very easy also, and this is a little difficult actually, the bone marrow, because here we have to do the bone marrow aspirations. Bone marrow aspiration. So the bone marrow as a source of hematopoietic stem cell is usually feasible when the recipient is a small kid. When the recipient is adult, then this is preferred. And here also, if recipient is a kid or adults, this can be used. But the problem with this is the 1 unit of the umbilical cord blood contains only small amount of the stem cell. So this is again can be used for the kids only. Or multiple units has to be used if we are taking this as source of the stem cell in case of the adult actually. Now, what is the problem with these? It's the problem. The umbilical cord blood is available in plenty. There is no problem. But problem is of storage. Problem is of performing the HLA types, and problem is related to some genetic disorders which can be present in that particular family members or that particular genetic ethnic background gen. Okay, so the very easy is a peripheral blood stem cells out of this. That is very easy. Bone marrow, traditional source, useful if the recipient and donor are the children or kids. General anesthesia is required. Blood group mismatch needs RBC depletion, slower engraftment but less GVSG. Now this is the advantage, that is less chances of GVSG are there, but this is disadvantage because slower engraftment as it contains less number of the CD34 or hematopoietic stem cells. In addition to HLA match, the blood group match, if available, this is very good. But if blood group mismatch is available, that's not a hindrance to the stem cell transplantation because antibodies can be removed by the different process or the RBCs can be depleted by the different process which are available. But this is going to increase the cost of the procedure actually. Peripheral blood. Many of you must have donated the blood. So this process is just like a donating a blood. But here there is a special condition actually. The blood has to be donated once the donor is given some specific treatment, and that is a granulocyte colony stimulating factor. So here the donor is being, first of all, donor is screened, his fitness is assessed, then donor is admitted, he is given a 5-day course of the GCSF filgrastim, and on the 5th day, after completing the 5 days doses, on the 6th day, the donor is taken to apheretic machines and the stem cells are collected actually. So GCSF is basically helping in mobilizing the stem cells, because in a normal person, one stem cells can be there in out of 10,000 normal cells, and this is very less dose. Once we use GCSF, we are increasing the concentration of the stem cells in the blood itself. Another problem with this is the more T cells. This contain more T cells, again more risk of the chronic GVHD. But advantage of the peripheral blood as a source of stem cell as compared to bone marrow is a faster engraftment because it contains more number of the CD34 cells. So there is a faster engraftment, hence less duration of the neutropenia. The more the duration of the neutropenia, patient is more stressed, more susceptible to infection. Umbilical cord blood, slower engraftment, high risk of infection, limited quantity, not sufficient for an adult. As I told you, single unit will not be sufficient for the adult. So here we have to use the multiple units. And since we are using multiple units, some genetic mismatch will be there. But advantage is it is available in plenty. That is the only advantage of this. You can see. These are some misconceptions. Like for umbilical blood or cord blood, there no HLA match is needed. No, HLA match is required. Is simpler? No, It is not simple. It requires the same process. Of course, the collection is very easy. You can see no conditioning or therapy. No conditioning is required. Quick treatment, just do a CBT. No, it's not a quick treatment mode. Cheaper or superior to BMT? It is neither cheap or not superior to the BMT. Now, to do or not to do BMT, that's very important because BMT is a different procedure. It requires is a highly costly it is a highly costly affair, you can say. So before taking up the patients or before suggesting a BMT as a mode of therapy in the patients, we should be very careful and we should be confident that there is no alternative or superior therapy available for the treatment of such patient who has to be taken for the bone marrow transplantations. Like patient of severe aplastic anemia who has failed to ATG, or they are very early, you can say, like they are young patients where the entire life is ahead of him. So in that we can consider for the bone marrow transplantation. Like bone marrow transplantation, aplastic anemia at the age of 40 or 40, at the age of 45 or beyond, this should not be the first modality of treating such patient. The first modality in such patient should be ATG, and when ATG fails, only then patient should be taken up for the BMT. Recipient is a good candidate. This is also very important. Like patients of leukemia, acute leukemia, which is disease of elderly, or MDS disease of elderly, he is simultaneously suffering from the ischemic heart disease, suffering from the chronic kidney disease, suffering from the chronic lung disease. Then there is no idea of performing a bone marrow transplantation in such patients. Appropriate donor match should be available. Donor match, donor type, dose of stem cells. No donor health contraindication should be there. Like if donor is ready but his health is not good, so again that is the contraindications. Regime-related toxicity, mortality risk, counseling consent, this all is required. So before suggesting this, before taking up the patients for a bone marrow transplantation, there has to be a strong counseling for the patients, of the relative, of the donor as well. So these are few indications, specific indications for performing LOSCT. Malignant conditions, acute myeloid leukemia, particularly when it carries the poor cytogenetics or poor cytogenetics or poor or bad molecular markers. pH positive ALL. I told you pH is specific for the CML, but there are some conditions in which pH chromosome can be seen, like in ALL can be seen, it can be seen in AML also. CML progression, accelerated phase or blast phase. MDS, high risk MDS. CLL, particularly when the CLL has multiple labs, or other, you can say, myeloproliferative disorders, MPDs, which is called as MPN also. A classical example is myelofibrosis. But problem with the myelofibrosis is it's itself carries a very poor prognosis. Non-Hodgkin lymphoma, particularly when it is a T cell or frequent lapses are there in non-Hodgkin lymphoma. Hodgkin disease, particularly when there is a multiple lapse or refractory disease are there. Multiple myeloma, of course, is a specific indication for the performing a, but this is not an indication, strong indication for LOSCT. LOSCT is used only in multiple myeloma and relapse refractory when almost near every chemotherapy has failed. Juvenile chronic myeloid leukemia or the childhood CML actually. A non-malignant condition like aplastic anemia, PNH, paroxysmal nocturnal hemoglobinuria, which has not responded to steroids, or there are serious complications with the steroids, or there are multiple life-threatening complications in the PNH. Fanconi's anemia, these are the inherited bone marrow failure syndromes actually. Fanconi anemia, black fun diamond anemia. Thalassemia major hemoglobinopathy, sickle cell anemia hemoglobinopathy. Now this is severe combined immunodeficiency. This is also some disorders which are curable by the stem cell transplantation. Viscoto-Eldrick syndrome, inborn errors of metabolism. So these are few indications where the LOSCT can be performed. Now, annual this graph is showing the increasing number of allogenic and the autologous transplantation performed worldwide. So the graph is increasing. Now more and more centers over the world and over the India are doing the bone marrow transplantations. Now, what is the procedure? The procedure includes, we call it as workup. So workup is for recipient, workup is for donor. So first workup we have to do for the recipient. We have to be very careful So we usually give a such type of, you can say, the paper to the recipient. We write name, age, sex, ID number. We give him a definite ID or a diagnosis. That has to be correct. Height, weight to calculate the body surface area, because the chemotherapy and many other therapies are based on the body surface area. Then the blood group, because it will decide whether there is a match or mismatch is there. Then type of transplant, whether allogenic is there or autologous is there, and if it's allogenic, what is the source of the stem cells, like peripheral blood, BMT or others. Then how many, you can see, the transfusion he has received, then the current hemoglobin, current WBC count, platelet, biochemistry, particularly LFTs, RFTs, and HLA report in details, including its number. And in addition to this, we have to perform the following viral serology: HIV, HBs, anti-HBC, HBV DNA, anti-HCV. In addition to this, CMVs, CMV, cytomegalovirus. This is very important. Serology is very important. And majority of the patients, as well as the donors or recipient donors, or even we, are positive for the cytomegalovirus IgG. But patient or recipient should not be positive for the IgM. Actually, that indicates active infections. Again, assessment of comorbidities. Even if patient has no comorbidities, still we will advise dental checkup, dental clearance, ENT checkup, psychiatric, because patient has to remain in the isolation confinement for at least minimum 1 month, and the duration may extend depending upon the complications. Other specific related to patient history sometimes. Another specific test, we advise echocardiography for the cardiac functions, or sometimes MOGA if there is some problem with the, some, you can say, hypokinetic segment is detected. Then the nuclear studies. Then the PFT, pulmonary function test. PFT stands for two, that is platelet function test and the pulmonary function test. So here pulmonary function test, GFR. So renal, for renal system, for lung, and for heart, which are the three major organs, you can say. And psychiatry is going to assess your strength, your willpower. Now, these are the disease specific information. Bone marrow, what are the bone marrow? Whether it was aplastic anemia, whether it was PNH, whether it was AML, whether it was ALL. Stress cytogenetics for aplastic anemia, PNH clone for aplastic anemia, how many transfusions the patient has received, more number of transfusion if the patient has received, and particularly from the family members, there are high risk of graft rejections actually. So that is why in a potential bone marrow recipient, usually the recipient is advised not to have the PCV transfusion from the close relative of the siblings. Then HPLC for thalassemia only, and this is the leukaryotic classification for the in which we have to assess the degree of chelation, serum ferritin level, and the degree of fibrosis in the liver, and liver biopsy results. Then leukemia, risk stratification, like in AML or ALL, what was the risk? That is, it's a low risk, intermediate risk, or high risk. Same is for MDS, then cytogenetics, then molecular markers, then remission status, like CR1 or CR2. In case of AML, with intermediate or poor risk cytogenetics molecular markers, usually the transplant is indicated in CR1. And in CR2, in all other conditions, it is CR2, particularly the ALL. Relapse or refractory disease, that is, patient has multiple relapses or disease refractory to the chemotherapy. Then again for donor workup, donor workup, complete, you can say, examinations. Okay, we have to assess the general fitness of the patients, RFT, LFT, CBC. Okay, and in addition to this, we have to perform the same serology as performed in patient of, as performed in recipient of the BMT. So same serology, same, but a good general physical examinations, and in addition to this, like blood group, CBC, RFT, LFT, and HLA in details actually. There should not be any degree of mismatch. Then echocardiography, cardiology clearance. Okay, so we have to again, donor safety is a priority. Why? Because donor is a innocent person. He is not suffering from any disease. So first aim of the bone marrow transplantation is there should not be any harm to the donor. That's very. Then what is conditioning regime? So after this Detailed workup of the donor and recipient. Donor is admitted, recipient is admitted, recipient is given conditioning regime. The purpose of the conditioning regime is to ablate the marrow of the recipient for residual disease. First purpose, to make the space in the marrow, to have the immune suppression, to prevent the rejections, and to eradicate the previous diseases. So the conditioning is going to serve these three purposes. It will create a space in the marrow in the recipient. It will immunosuppress. It will suppress the immunity in the recipient so as to prevent the rejections, and it will eradicate the previous disease. Now, blood counts may go to zero during this process. Remember this. So, we have to be very careful that donor has to be admitted, donor has to be ready. Donor cannot leave the process in between. If he leaves the process in between, the recipient will die. Maximum chances are there that he will not survive. Blood counts may go to zero, so need blood products. So patient will need hair, lot of blood and blood products, including the PCV and the platelets, and anti-infective control because TLC is also zero. New marrow is infused. This is just like a blood infusion, but here the rate of infusion is very fast. Usually the harvested marrow is transfused over a period of around 45 minutes to 1 hour, not beyond this. Then we wait for the recovery. This process is called as the engraftment. These are the different conditioning regimes: non-myeloablative, myeloablative regime. Myeloablative is usually used for the malignant process like AML, CML, ALL, MDS, and non-myeloablative conditioning regime is usually used for the aplastic anemia. In addition to this, for thalassemia also myeloablative conditioning is used. Non-myeloablative is usually not preferred. But there is a specific treatment for this. There is a specific, you can say, the regime which has been designed for the patient of thalassemia major, which includes the thiotepar, treosulfan, fludarabine. At some centers, they are using the Bucai for the AML, and some centers they are using some different. So there is some variation in the conditioning regimes which vary from the center to center. And there is a process called as RIC, that is reduced intensity conditioning regime, which is used for the CLA. This is the same, that is myeloablative, but here the dose of these drugs is less as compared to the standard dose. This diagram is showing how we are harvesting the stem cell. This is the marrow actually. So bone marrow is used as a source of stem cells. The recipient donor has to be taken to OT under general anesthesia. We have to perform this multiple punctures from the posterior spinal axis on both sides. So here usually there is a team of doctors. One is anesthetist, two staff nurses are there, and 2 or 3 doctors are there who are going to perform this procedure repeatedly. And this is the umbilical cord actually, this cord blood, but this is not used frequently actually. And this is a peripheral blood, which is just like a collecting a blood actually, or donating blood. So this is again the same. Now CD34 estimation, because the harvest so collected should be rich in the CD34 count, and there is a process by which we can calculate the CD34. And here again the flow cytometry is used to find out the exact CD34 count. And this is how to calculate the total dose. That is the total leukocyte count. Bag volume. Bag volume means how much harvest has been taken. That is 100 ml, 150 ml, 200 ml. Usually in case of peripheral blood, it is around 200 to 300 ml. In case of bone marrow, it is around 100 to 150 ml. And weight of the recipient. So weight of the recipient, harvest bag volume, total nucleate cell count %. This is how we calculate the 34. And this we take as sufficient. How much should be there? Usually between 3 to 6 into 10 to the power 6 per kilogram is considered sufficient. If it is less than 2, it is called as insufficient. This will result into there are high chances of the graft failure. It is more than, there is high chances of the GVHD. So we have to make a balance between this. Usually we have to keep this count between 3 to 6. That is, should not be more than 6, and ideally should not be less than 3. In any situation, should not be less than 2. Steps. Now this is protective isolation. Protective isolation means usually the HEPA filtered rooms are there. And conditioning. Then stem cell infusion like a blood infusion. Supportive therapy is given, which includes antibiotic, antifungal, PCV, PRPs. Then finally, if patient has recovered, there is engraftment has occurred, no infection, we discharge the patients, and even after discharge, we ask the patient to come in on regular follow-up. This is called as engraftment when the neutrophil count of more than 500 at least on 2 occasions, and this is usually achieved in the second week, usually by the end of second week. And platelet, when more than 20,000 platelet on 2 occasions, that is called as the platelet engraftment. So at this stage, we can think of discharging the patient if patient has no evidence of infection and the neutrophil and the platelet engraftment has occurred. These are the other therapies actually. Antimicrobial prophylaxis, common prophylaxis, we are giving the inolone for the gram-positive infection organisms, gram-positive, gram-negative, fluconazole as a antifungal, and acyclovir as antiviral. So these are the three prophylaxis which are usually continued for any patient who has received a allogenic bone marrow transplant. We have to regularly monitor the patients for this CMV. We have to regularly monitor the patients for other virus, fungi, atypical infections, TB, etc. And again, we have to monitor the patients for the major organ dysfunction, for the liver, for the renal functions. So once the patient recovers from this, this is actually called as the rebirth of the patients. And after this, the patient has to receive re-immunization as per the schedule, as used for as a childhood vaccination program. Chimerism is a process in which we are testing the percentage of engraftment in the recipient, and it is called as 100% chimerism when the entire recipient marrow is replaced by the donor marrow, and it may be called as the mixed chimerism when there is some percentage of recipient, some percentage of donor is there. If the donor percentage is much more, this is going to maintain the engraftment process. If gradually the donor percentage is losing or it becomes less and less and the recipient is losing, then it results into the graft failure. Complications, common complications include the graft rejection, graft versus host disease, infections, particularly the fungal and viral infections are much more common as compared to the standard bacterial infections. Risk factors for GVHD, HLA match, mismatch, lymphocytes, inadequate immune suppressions. So these are some, you can say, this diagram showing the GVHD, skin GVHD, again skin GVHD, again skin GVHD. Discharge and follow-up. So once patient is engrafted, there is no evidence of GVHD or non-significant GVHD, patient is stable, no evidence of infections, we discharge the patients and we have the patients weekly for regular follow-up, and regular monitoring is done for CBC, RFT, LFT, and the general health of the patients. And donor chimerism is performed on day 30, 60, 90, and 3 months, and early as and when required. So this is the minimum, you can say, chimerism study that has to be performed. So with this, the subject of the hematology is finished, and before this, you're sent up, the assessment test will be conducted. Now you can mark your attendance.